Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hosted Bar. I am Erin Ogden, and I am here as always with Dawn Maloney. And today we have Matt McGowan. And I will start by saying today, I was just saying that my day, much like my week, has not gone as planned. So while I had planned to do a nice NA thing, I instead went with a sidecar.
Ooh.
Sidecar is brandy, Cointreau, and lemon juice. And because it packs a punch, I also have a nice big bottle of water because I do need to function for the rest of the day. So Dawn, why don't you tell us what you're drinking? And then because you are the unique connector, I want you to introduce Matt and say what you know is unique about him. And then he can also introduce himself and, oh gosh, all the way through.
Okay. Well, I would say I have a fancy cup today, but it's non-alcoholic. I have to meet my parents with my son later. So anyways, I have a peach and honey sparkling water with a little bit of orange bitters because I love bitters now in my older age, where before I hated bitters. But anyways, so that is what I'm having today. And then I have Matt here on my screen. So Matt lives in my community. We've gotten to know each other better because of our lovely wild children that we have. And so I thought it would be fun to have him on since he is the pharmacist in town. So Matt, how about you introduce yourself?
All right, thank you. So yeah, as Don mentioned, my name is Matt McGowan. I'm a pharmacist. Been practicing for like about 12, 13 years. In my entire path or my career path through a couple different jobs, my goal is to eventually own my own store. So that eventually led me here to Mount Horeb, and we took over ownership of Mount Horeb Pharmacy, which is now Mount Horeb Family Pharmacy, about a year and a half ago. So I decided I wanted to be a pharmacist back when I was about 16. And fast forward to where I am now. Pharmacy's kind of patching up people's problems and dispensing pills to help them feel better. My true passion is to help people feel better and to prevent them from getting the point of needing medications. Kind of contradictory for a pharmacy, especially an owner, but we want to help people feel well and live their healthiest life and prevent them to getting to that point. And I think importantly, along with the girls, so I have a kind of a poor man's old fashioned. So I really enjoy a mixed soul boxer, brandy old fashioned mix with a little bit of Sprite. And I strongly debated going strictly caffeine, but I do have some of that on the side as well.
Excellent. So one thing that Dawn, when we were talking about who we should invite and who should we talk to, she had mentioned that one thing she really appreciated about you, Matt, is that you took the approach of that your business is also a member of the community. And then we were talking right before we got on that you were saying your number one mission is kind of use it to help people, to be good to people and be good to the community. So I think that's something that a lot of small businesses have in mind, but maybe don't. It's always in the back of their head, but I think you're a little bit more forward about that. So can you talk a little bit more about what you see your role as a pharmacy and as a small business in your community?
Yeah, so I think that all kind of ties back to I grew up in a really small town. It was a one pharmacy town. I think, growing up and then kind of the generation before us, the pharmacy was one of the pillars in the community, along with the school and some of the churches and healthcare and that kind of thing. And then a little bit of just my morals of how I was brought up too. So it's just something that's always been really important to me. And then upon taking over our pharmacy, there's two pharmacies in the town of Mount Horeb. And a lot of folks who move here gravitate to the big box store that they just are familiar with, that seems to be on every corner. And we knew when we rebranded ourselves, and we really wanted people to know that we're here to take care of people. That's our big driving motivator, is to take care of people, let them know we're here. I literally give every patient my cell phone. If they need something, I go ahead, they call me up, and we do whatever we can to take care of them however we can. Last year, we went in on Father's Day, went in on 4th of July. This year, I went in on Father's Day. I am a father myself, but like things like that don't bother me because we're helping somebody out. It takes 5-10 minutes of my time. It's really no big deal. So letting people know that we're here for them, and doing whatever we can to take care of them. And it's the biggest thing that I try to let people know is it's not a gimmick. It's not a sales pitch. That we're going to do everything we can to really take care of everybody.
It's not a somebody. It's not a nameless person. One of the things that with a pharmacy, but just in general, is when you build a community, it's a real person, and it's a person that you know, right? It's not nameless, faceless. You know something more about them, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I love, and it's been kind of fresh on my mind recently because we've had some pharmacy students going through second, third year of pharmacy school, and I kind of teach them what's unique about my role, and what led me, or drove me to be where I'm at today. Because it is a risk. Right now is not a great time to be an independent community pharmacy. So they often ask why that is, and I think after 2 or 3 days, they're like, "Wow, every single person that comes in here. Like, how do you just try to memorize?" Like, no, I just, you get to know them, you connect with them, you ask about their kids, you ask about their hobbies. It helps you understand and shape, understand their healthcare better. And therefore you can help connect with them and take better care of them.
So Matt,
And I would say I know from experience that, like, even to the pharmacist putting in at the last second at 5 o'clock, my son had an ear infection or something, and Matt calls me instantly, like, "I'll drop it off on my way home." And I'm like, no, it's okay. But like going over and above and knowing how, like, just having you there and caring so much is so nice in our community. That too, when we walk in, it's, you always say hi, you talk to us, you have conversations, which not every business owner or pharmacy or the big chains will even care. You're just a number. So yeah.
I think
And
that's interesting that you have your students too, because you can pretend that you're going to learn that in school, but even if they have classes, you don't learn it until you do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So having your students through, are you finding that that's more of what you're teaching them than the other stuff? Or like, because this is a little bit like, how are you not the only person there, right? Business owners sometimes feel like they could be the only one there, but you have to be able to teach your staff.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm somewhat fortunate. I actually took kind of a little bit of a gamble in another way, and I partnered with a pharmacy technician, which is fairly unusual. And I've worked with some pharmacies where partnerships have gone sour. I think any movie or whatever drama can show you, like, eventually a partnership probably goes the wrong way. And I know that that's a possibility, but what I was able to do, at least so far, is surround myself with honestly the best pharmacy staff that I've worked with in my 20-year career since I got out of high school. And the cool thing about that is, and my staff knows it, and I say it a lot, the pharmacy technicians, the pharmacy staff run the store. I have the license to make the decisions. So having someone there that cares about it as much as I do has been really helpful, because there may be days where, I'm the only one that can check prescriptions. So I'll be just swamped or buried doing that, or I'll get in a long conversation with the patient. I still have a business owner there who's willing to take on other conversations or take some of that burden off of what I'm doing day to day, which has been really helpful too. And yeah, the student thing's interesting. It's actually been a little bit of a burden lately as well, because I have to have something for them to do. I have to have points to teach them. And when I have X number of prescriptions to count per day or to check, if I don't do any, we don't do the counting, but that's enough of a job of its own. But to me, in the end, it's so rewarding leading those students and showing them a different avenue that they're not used to. They're used to the TV clips or in the news, like somebody sitting there counting some pills. And it's like, that's not what we do. We help people with their health, and we help them, make sure that they're compliant and addressing any barriers and that kind of thing. And that's what's truly important at the end of the day.
So Matt, we were talking again right before this about how a well-kept secret, which isn't a secret, is every small business owner is like making this shit up as we go. Like, I don't know. I've never had to teach pharmacy students this before. How do I teach people how to be more than a, retail checker out, or, how do you get those conversations? So what are some of those kind of lessons that you learn to be able to scale and be able to have your, either the students leave understanding that, or your staff, because it's not accidental that your staff is the best you've worked with, right? That didn't just happen because they fell out of the sky and landed on your doorstep. So what are some of those messy lessons that you've learned, even if it's not the perfect program yet, to be able to have your staff be just as bought into community member as you?
Yeah, so yeah, like you and I were chatting. I thought like once this day came and I was able to, I had an opportunity to take over a pharmacy or open one on my own, I'd have this grand business plan and I would have it all drawn out and I would take business classes through UW and I would do all this step-by-step stuff and like everything just gets thrown in your face. And the time came and it happened really fast. So like I mentioned with you, like some of the business oriented questions, I don't know if I'll know how to answer them because I don't always, I'm a pharmacist and I'm trying to run a business. And overall, you know, what I try to drill into my staff is that they see me a lot of days. I'll be behind, I'll be 40, 50, 60 prescriptions behind, and I'll have to stay whatever, a couple hours later, whatever. And that sucks. But like, what I want them to know is like, I'm not going to cheap out. I'm not going to just shuffle these prescriptions through. I think that's what you're going to see at a lot of the big box stores, that it becomes a conveyor belt. There's no thought put into it. They let the computers take over and like they just rely on them. Like that's not what we're going to do. And I want my staff to know, like, I'm going to go to the end of my wits to make sure that this prescription is right for this patient. And then I often ask them as well, like, hey, this has a $40 copay. I think it has a coupon. Like, do you guys mind digging into that for me? And they're like, it's probably only going to save them $10. I'm like, I think they'll appreciate it. So I think we should do everything we can to make sure that they're satisfied in every way that they can, even if they don't know it exists. So those are some of the ways. Like I said, I don't. It's not always a well thought out plan or like as organized as I'd like it to be. But yeah, just doing what we can to always try and do the right thing. And then one of the biggest things for me so far has been leaning on others to help with business. Luckily for me, there's some mentors I would consider in neighboring communities that have owned pharmacies. I bounce questions off them a lot. You know, I thought all along, like way back 25 years ago, I had an interest in accounting. I was like, well, I'll just do all my own accounting and payroll and stuff like that. Not a chance in the world I'm going to do that right now. And you know, at the end of the day, is it worth it for me to pay to have that done? I'm not sure, but it's something that I'm not worrying about at night while I'm
Totally
still
worth
trying to
it.
yeah. You know, I want to take care. I want to learn more things in pharmacy instead of sit there and like worry about the numbers and worry about payroll and stuff like that.
So Matt, you've hit two of our big themes on that answer. One is, my first theme is that if you're say you're going to do it, then your actions have to show it. Actions show priority, right? So if you say we're going to help, we're here to, you know, help people, we're here to make them well, and then you become a conveyor belt, it doesn't matter what you say, because if people pay attention to your actions, your you know, your staff pays attention and they'll cue off that, your customers pay attention and cue off that. So the fact that what you're doing is your actions meet your stated purpose is everything, because as soon as you start having that split is when people are like, all right, which is it? And then your second point is Dawn's big theme that I think you've hit almost every single time, is know when you need help, ask for it, accept it.
Yeah, and that's been big for me too. I'm also fortunate in another way. My wife is a pharmacist, and I hate saying it publicly, but she's quite a bit smarter than me, even though she was a couple years behind me in school. But when it comes down to it, like if I just can't keep up with the workload, there's times when we tackle it together. There's times when I know that payroll is tight and I shouldn't bring on another pharmacist, but I'm not going to just go in and just shovel these prescriptions through. So I'm going to bite the bullet on payroll and I'm going to bring in extra staff to make sure that the work's getting done. I try to do it every day with our technicians. I think in our store, you're going to find more technicians than you're going to usually find in a lot of stores. People doing our volume might have one pharmacist, one technician, or maybe 1 to 2. We usually try to have 3 technicians there every day. I want them to know that they're taken care of, that even though it's busy and retail can be super stressful, that like they have others to rely on, and that we always have someone to answer the phone or answer the register or take care of folks when they're in there, because and still there's times when we're maxed out and we can't do that. But yeah, it's like you said, it's actually doing the actions. And I don't parade that out to them that like, hey, I'm making sure we're well staffed. I just want them to feel it and understand it day to day. And I think they do, you know, I think they appreciate that.
But
And
one
it
thing
even comes
I
down to
learned is
something as
don't be
simple
afraid to
as,
parade it out.
yeah, yeah, dangle it out there at times. And it's funny too, there's, you know, being a prescription, like there's grammatical things. So doctors send us things in shorthand and they're abbreviated, and it'll come to me and I'll have grammar errors, or I'm like guys, I don't know, like I don't want to be over the top on this, but like, how does it make us sound or present if this isn't in a professional manner? Like the average American can read at a certain level, and we need to understand that and make this so like everyone can understand it, no matter what we think is easy to read. So they'll see me, I'll be way behind, and then I'll reverse the script and I'll make it like perfect or closer to perfect. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is what we got to do. You got to do what's right," and then it just makes things easier down the road.
Yeah. And I to even go back to what you were saying earlier too, of like, you're running a retail store. You are actually in other community members to sell products in your store, and you have like other things in the store. So not only are you doing a pharmacy, but you're doing a retail store, and that's a lot to juggle too. So that's where I'm just always like, whew, look at, but you bring in really cool, unique gifts. It's a one-stop shop. I love going there because I get Owen his surprise, you know, Easter basket things or whatnot. And that's the part too that I love, that it's a store that I can go in and feel comfortable and know that I can get multiple things besides just coming in for medicine. So how's that, Matt, too? Like, what's the vision of that?
Yeah, in the sake of being honest, that part was more overwhelming than I suspected.
Yeah.
We wanted, when we moved to Mount Horeb, there wasn't a lot of like places to find clothing, Mount Horeb clothing or something, Mount Horeb Vikings, or even a shirt that just says Mount Horeb that's not affiliated with activities or sports. So we wanted to kind of fill that void. It's like, well, we have a large retail space, and like, how do we do this? When I grew up in the town of Darlington, like anywhere you walk, like someone has a shirt on that says Darlington High School, Darlington Redbirds, whatever it might be. And it was a little bit odd to me that we didn't have that here. And I wanted a polo, I wanted a T-shirt that I could just wear around the kids' games and stuff like that. So I thought, like, sure, we'll bring some of that stuff in, and we brought in like our first line of like 5 items, and then it went over really well. And then things got crazy with the store, especially the vaccinations last year, because that's all our life has been for 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
Which, you know, was good and bad, but it was overwhelming. So luckily there, Kayla's kind of taken over that avenue, and she's much better with the gift buying, especially with the creative ideas and things like that. But that's been really rewarding. I think people really appreciated it. And overall, you know, it's to help build community, let people know we're there, spread the word. Hey, where'd you get that shirt? Like, oh, we got it over at the pharmacy. Like, cool, go check it out. My big part with expanding the front end is nutrition and hydration. Um, I do a little bit of like triathlon on the sides. That's what I try to do to like stay healthy, do a little bit of running, biking. And through that, I've learned about what people use, what high performing people use to stay healthy and to prevent injury and that kind of thing. So that's been my kind of main area of focus up at the front, is to bring a lot of those products in as well. Because I know, again, there's nowhere really in Mount Horeb, at least in our community, where can I go grab a protein bar that I know is clean? It's not just a bunch of sugar, and have a quick lunch, because so many of us are busy. We're on the go. Like I maybe sit down for lunch one day a week right now. And I know that's not ideal from a healthcare perspective, but that's the way it is. So like if I'm going to grab something, I want something clean that I know is going to give my body what it needs. So that's been a big part of what we want to do too, is somewhere in town where people can just kind of duck in and get those kind of things.
So I love that a lot of that kind of stuff was like, what am I seeing in my community? What is that need? How does that is driving it? And so I'll explore into that first, but I also want to backtrack and be like, Don, you didn't tell me we had another Southwest Wisconsin person. So I'm a little bit older than you, Matt, so you might not have had it, but Darlington was always the best team to play football against because you got out of school early. I think you guys now have I think Darlington now has lights in their football stadium, but for those not watching, for a long time, Darlington and I went to a school same size as Darlington, very small, and they didn't have lights on their football stadium, so you always got to do afternoon games. You got off early to play Darlington, and then you guys got lights, and like my nephews are in the same school, and they're just like, what, you used to get out of school? Yep. I'm like, yep, to go watch two really small schools play bad football.
Battle it out.
Right?
Yeah, all my buddies, I have a lot of buddies from the surrounding area from Southwest Wisconsin. They'd always rip on us for not having lights, like we're in the Stone Age. And I was like, I'm a traditionalist. I like it. I like an afternoon game, and then I'm gonna go watch somebody else. So, you know,
Right?
it's
We
fun.
loved it because we got out of school early. Plus, you always had the good cross country team. You had a good invitational.
There's been a good program there too, yeah.
Anyway, so back, we can fast forward from high school just a bit. But one of the things that you were talking about is choosing, like, hey, I saw this need, hey, I saw this thing. Has it been more by feel? Have you over through the years been a little more specific about trying to find those niches, or is it still just kind of like, we look around and see what's needed?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, kind of like my whole approach, it's probably pretty much completely by feel. We've definitely come out, like, we design all the clothing, or we work with the designers to do the personal design. There's definitely been some that didn't sell, right? So you keep them up for a while and you advertise them. But if they just aren't selling or whatever, then you move them to clearance rack, and you try to migrate towards what was working or what people are asking for. And it's kind of an ironic time for that question too, because even my wellness products, they're a big investment up front. Like we didn't have a lot of product on our shelves, period, when we took over. And we wanted to fill a store up and let people know we're here. If you need something, come in and get it. If you need something, call me. I'll go in and get it for you. So now we're coming through that cycle after about a year and a half. A lot of those products are starting to expire. So then I have to take the approach of, am I going to go ahead and restock those because I want them available, or are they a product that just, maybe didn't hit the market, or they're not something that maybe has a need in our area. It's interesting too. It's fun a little bit for me. I mean, my biggest thing, since I do have a business partner, I don't want to weigh her down with all the decisions I've made. Pretty much any product that I buy, I know is something that I'll at least use, if not something that I use every day anyhow. So I literally just brought home an expired protein powder, that I just paid the expired price like any customer would. And I'm using that now because it's a product that I would use anyhow. So most of the stuff is stuff that I believe in. I'm not going to go out to anyone and make a sales pitch. I'm like, hey, you should really take this. I'm going to put it in your hand. And, once you put it in their hand, they're so much more percent likely to buy it. No, I'm going to put them a sheet of paper in their hand that educates them about it. If they want to buy it today, they can. If they want to go home and read about it more and ask me questions, that's what I want. I want my patients to understand the how, the why, the reasons that it's important, the reasons that it might be a little bit higher price point, because so many times in pharmacy, more so in wellness, you get what you pay for. There's a lot of products over there that over the counter that just aren't regulated in any way. So people are like, well, I tried that 2 or 3 times. It didn't do anything for me. I'm like, I know it didn't. And I know why, because you're just putting like garbage into your body. So it's just like, good quality foods or anything else. So yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error and finding out what works, finding out what people are looking for, and kind of going from there. And on the same token, we're looking at expanding services, doing things that other pharmacies aren't doing. If your kid might have strep throat or something, we're trying to develop protocols with the doctor that you can just drive up, we'll assess the symptoms, we'll do the swab. If it's positive, we'll just run the antibiotic. So your 2-hour visit plus a trip to the pharmacy plus whatever else, which is 3 to 4 hours, it's going to be a half hour. So kind of assessing, looking forward, like we're looking at kind of doing surveys, social media, our client base, whatever it might be. What's the value of this to you? What do you think you would pay? Because that's something that pharmacy's never really done. It's free. You got a question, come up to me, it's free. Like our time and our knowledge has always kind of been free. And that's one of the anti-words I learned in school. Like it shouldn't be free. Like our time shouldn't be free, no one else's is. So kind of, that's what I've been kind of mulling over, survey development and how to target the right people, and just to see, Because I think if you ask anyone, like, hey, what do you want to pay for this? They're going to pick the lowest, whatever it is, right? But hitting the right people who will give you meaningful feedback of like, hey, I have a sick kid. I'd pay you $100 if you saved 4 hours of my day and got an antibiotic in him within like 30 minutes. Like that's worth time and money. So
Right. So I think you say it's by field, but it is and it isn't, right? Because I heard like first you measure, right? What are our sales doing? What are we, and you're paying attention to all of that. And like you said, these are, do we restock if that's not a need, if we thought it was a need but isn't? So you're not afraid to experiment, but you're also measuring and not just kind of going blindly. And then the second thing that I heard is something that I swear by, and that's actually, listen to your customer, and because I joke, I have zero original thoughts. I just listen. And if I hear 3 different people ask for it, then why am I saying no, right? And it's even easier to listen if you do what you just said, ask.
yeah,
Like,
no doubt. I
and
mean,
having that good question, because you're like, they'll always pick cheapest, but if you say, do you find value in this? No, that's a good question.
yeah, that's a great point. Such a great point. Like knowing, even if we do develop that survey and I do it and I'm a pharmacist and I'm not like, you know, wordfully minded, you're like wording it the correct way that people understand what you're asking and not just saying, hey, dollars. Everybody wants to say zero, right? But wording it the right way. And that's the same thing with running the store, just doing it the right way. And like, hey, I want to automatically fill your prescriptions every month so you can get them all together and it can save you a trip. If you say it the wrong way, people are going to think, well, you're just going to fill my medicine as much as possible. So you're going to shove pills down my throat. It's like, I don't care to do that to anyone. I'll help you get off your medicine. But I will also save you trips to the pharmacy if that's valuable to you. And like every time I have a patient come up, I basically always have a question on their sheet. You haven't filled this 90-day prescription in 110 days. What's the scoop? Can I help you? Is anything going on or whatever? Like,
All of a sudden, that $10 coupon can mean a whole lot.
yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Well, because
So yeah,
there's
we're
stories
always
about people
trying
who
to,
like die from preventable things, like because they were trying to stretch their medicine, and medicine they should take every day. They're taking every other to stretch that dollar. Like, there are a lot of us who are lucky that we don't have to think of it. There's a lot of us that have to think that level.
yeah, for
And
sure.
being
And
from
that's what we hope
Darlington,
too, as we're like rebranding. We're like, we want to spread the word. Like, we're not the small local shop that wants to bilk you. Like, our prices are probably the lowest, other than like the biggest low price leader. That's what they do. But the common one that's on every corner, like they're one of the highest prices. Like, just because they're out there doesn't mean they're trying to help you save money. I'm not going to dispense you a medication that has your highest copay. I'll be like, hey, this person's got a $150 copay. What can we do? We're going to get on the phone with your doctor. Might be a 20, 45-minute phone call, but that's fine. We're going to do what we can to make sure that it's right for the patient in the end.
but I also liked your point about your time isn't free. There's value there. And I think that's something that a lot of small business owners discount. And they forget that especially if you're doing products and things like that, that you have to build that into your price, right? That it isn't free. And maybe I would pay more for some things because I'm getting that value. And making sure that people are understanding, again, back to that, don't be afraid to tell people that this is the value you're getting. I'm helping you understand your supplements. I'm helping you understand this. I'm not just, that's what it said.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I mean, there has been, like, through my training, I've come across some mentors who literally, they'll give them a sheet. This is the things we did for you today. We actually saved a drug interaction. We caught that this dose wasn't right for your child. We know that it wasn't right because of your kidney function. Like, we did this for you and you don't know it because we do it in the background all day, every day.
Right.
We saved you $25 because we went and we found a coupon, or like your doctor sent in something that didn't make any sense at all and they were fighting us on it, but we spent 2 hours on the phone. I love that. I love that idea. Because that's, our profession has become kind of, I don't know, afraid to like present what we're worth, and finding different ways to do it and knowing that it would be appreciated. It's fun to hear.
And I mean, Don, this is one thing that you talked about, why he's such a good business and valued member of the community is because he's doing things like that, but also integrating into that community and putting words into your mouth. So maybe you could say,
No. Well, and I've witnessed it myself. I know even one time we got a prescription and you guys were like, why did they prescribe this one? Like, you were questioning it and then making the phone calls, checking and making sure. And in the past, other places wouldn't have even done it. They would have just gave it to us and I wouldn't know any better. And so I feel that that's the one thing that, just to showcase you more of all the things that you're doing for the community, but also how you're just bringing in two different places to make it more of a community feel, and you're supporting other people in the community while still doing what you're passionate about. And so that's where I appreciate that, because we need that in town. And with you just talking about that survey, yeah, right now I'd have to go downtown, make an appointment and sit there for hours for a strep throat test. I don't have time for that. And when your child is screaming and crying, he doesn't want to do that either. So yeah, I would appreciate those things, and I'd pay for that too. So,
and I think
anyways,
those surveys are so important because you get a chance to hear and name one person who doesn't want to give their opinion. Right? Everybody wants things. So giving them the opportunity to hear and serve them better, I think is good. So that one thing that I've done in life, because I am a visual learner. I actually have flow charts.
Oh.
To help with a lot of those things, like, okay, how do I make this decision? What is this? And so it sounds like you actually have a process in mind. It'd be really fun to see if you could, once you put it in the flow chart. I always find is like, oh, I'm way more put together than I thought I was.
I try to think that I am, but that's that side of my brain, that creative side, that organized side. I found that, I don't know, I struggle to find it, to reach it. I like a problem on paper that I can find that solution, the science, the chemistry, the math.
So I'm telling you, put it into a flow, because I'm this same way, right? With the science. Once you put it into a flow chart, it starts filling in that thing, and you're like, aha, I am creative with my spreadsheets.
Yeah, and I think it would help my staff so much, because sometimes I give them a bulleted list, like, here's all these ideas. They're like, what can we do to help? Like here's all these things I want to do. And then they just look at it like, okay, like, yeah, I guess if you have flowcharts and like you help them understand like the processes and why they're important and stuff, it's going to help them put the pieces together of like why we need to help get that done or how to help get it done.
Yeah. No, we warned you that 30 minutes would go by faster than you imagine. Now, maybe it doesn't feel as fast in the middle of it, but if you believe it, we're through. So is there any last thoughts that you just want to make sure people know or think about when they're thinking about as a small business owner or a small business owner as a community member? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but answer really well right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to spend a lot of time like parading what we do. And we
don't be so Southwest Wisconsin. Of course you parade what you do.
Yeah, I mean, pharmacy is a boring topic for most folks, so I completely understand that. I hate to say it too much, because maybe our store won't eventually work out. Like I said, like with the insurance industry the way it is, like we don't have a lot to say at the end of the day, like how good we're doing. Our volume growth has been tremendous in 2 years, but our revenue growth is not, and that's just everybody has insurance and they kind of siphon everything out of the industry. But I mean, the biggest thing for me so far is like, if you have a gut feeling about something or you're passionate about it, I think follow it. Like I said, I don't always have the plans. Sometimes I have ideas and then like I have to pass them off, or and maybe that feels unfair to others. I'm not great at delegating. I feel like
small business land, man.
Yeah, if it's I love to delegate, but like I don't want to give my ideas to someone else. Like, I should be able to take it to the finish myself. But when you have good people who are willing to help and they understand like how it helps us as a group, I mean, that's so beneficial. But yeah, that's my biggest thing. That's what I tell a lot of my students is, you know, you don't always have it laid out perfectly. And I don't know. I mean, I'm 38 and I got 3 kids. And it's like, man, life can really just sock you in the face, and you just take it and you keep rolling and you follow what is important to you, what you're passionate about. I don't know. I mean, like I said, like for now, it's working for us. It's working well. You know, I don't know if somebody they really want to open a restaurant and they're like, it probably isn't going to work every time, and I don't want to like lead people to failure. But so far, you know, it's been well received. It's been really rewarding. I've really enjoyed the year and a half that we've owned the store so far. So, um, you know, like I said, tons and tons of ideas in mind, and just keep following them and hoping, you know, like we talked about, like pick and choose, follow the ones that work, and understand that not all of them are going to.
Awesome.
Great words of wisdom, and I appreciate you coming on the show, Matt, in the community.
Right. And don't
Half hour is just about right.
feel bad that that's why, because I think that you did a really good job of explaining exactly how like most small business owners feel. And I don't think we hear it enough about that uncertainty yet certainty at the same time. And I'm definitely hearing that from you, and I definitely recognize the feeling. So thank you for being willing to express it so well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's tough. Like you ask a lot of people I know, I'm not a self-confident person, not like really a type A, like go. Like I always doubt myself, even in checking a prescription or whatever that I've checked 100 times. But yeah, like I said, like, you know, I don't know, if you're passionate about it and you want it enough and you do it the right way, I feel like it's gonna work out.
Can't end it any better than that. Thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you guys.